In a remote corner of Saudi Arabia, an international team attempts to solve an ancient mystery. Enigmatic stone structures, thousands of them, scattered across hundreds of kilometers of desolate desert. Who built them?
When you see the archaeological sites perched up in places, and you wonder, what's the symbolism of that?
Saudi Arabia is opening up to research thousands of never-before-studied ancient sites.
This is an area that has had very little archaeological explorations. So we're kind of like explorers, really.
They're finding evidence.
Wow.
Of mysterious prehistoric ritual.
We quickly understood that this was something big.
Are these massive symbols left by a lost civilization?
Look!
Who were the architects of ancient Arabia? Alula, a region in Saudi Arabia's vast northwest. A land of stunning beauty. It was once a thriving crossroads. 2,000 years ago, an advanced civilization called the Nabateans carved these sandstone tombs. Nearly 100 of them, many over 5 stories tall, are spread over 10 square kilometers. Remains of an ancient city called Hegra. As early Maya city-states were on the rise in the Americas, and the Han Dynasty was building the Silk Road outward from China, here in Alula, 2,000 years ago, the Nabateans built Hegra to help command one of the ancient world's most lucrative trade networks, carrying incense and spices from Arabia to Egypt, Rome, and beyond.
It's actually a primary communication route that's been used for the spice trade. It's been used for the Hajj during much later periods. People have used this route for a very long time.
Over 500 years before the Nabateans, the biblical city of Dedan flourished. Dedan statues have clear Greek and Egyptian influences. And its language is one of modern Arabic's ancient ancestors. But scattered among these known sites, archaeologists are discovering more here. Much more. Traces of civilization. More ancient than most ever imagined.
We're driven by curiosity. I think our species is simply curious about the past.
David Kennedy is an aerial archaeologist. He studies ancient features from his preferred view, 500 feet up.
These structures are rather perplexing. You want to know what it was about, why people built it like that, why they built it there.
These unexplained structures form shapes like circles, pendants, rectangles, and even triangles.
These are not simply stones that have been heaped up. They've carefully selected flat stones. They've built them into proper walls. The walls have got a vertical face on them. They've got sharp corners, properly laid out.
Some of them stretch the length of 5 football fields, with over 12,000 tons of rock nearly twice the weight of the Eiffel Tower.
And then on this ridge up here, you can see there's a rather fine example with a fantastic view from the top here. The people who built these things obviously had an eye to the landscape.
David's team has catalogued over 12,000 of these sites. It's estimated that over 21,000 are spread across Alula. Who built these structures? And for what purpose? And when?
With that combination of sites, you've got something that's puzzling, and there are huge numbers of these puzzles in this landscape around here.
The aerial survey is part of a much larger investigation being led by the Royal Commission for Alula, a Saudi 2030 vision-inspired organization.
فريق الهيئة الملكية لمحافظة العلا لا زال الآن عازم لمعرفة التوافق التاريخي بين هذه المنشآت. الأرض تخفي أكثر مما تظهر من الآثار.
Saudi specialists are joined by international teams of archaeologists. Director Rebecca Foote manages researchers exploring over 20,000 square kilometers.
It's a huge opportunity, but it's a huge challenge as well, because there just hasn't been anybody studying this part of the world in such detail.
Their mission? Uncover the secrets of these desert monuments and reveal Alula's role in the story of human civilization.
This is the forgotten corner of the region. It's almost like we're coming in, I wouldn't say with a completely blank piece of paper, but it was a rough sketch. Now we can potentially make a difference in terms of our understanding, not just of Saudi Arabia, but the wider region.
Arabia lies to the south of one of the richest archaeological regions on Earth, the Fertile Crescent. Around 10,000 years ago, people here began to farm and domesticate animals like cattle. This era, the Neolithic, led to what we now call the birth of civilization.
This period witnessed so much big changes, and it's actually the beginning of the modern way of life.
The most well-known ancient structures, like the pyramids and Stonehenge, came thousands of years later. To the south of the Fertile Crescent, the harsh Arabian desert was thought to play no part in the birth of civilization.
Just because it's a desert, people think it must be empty, there was no one there. The Fertile Crescent has seen so much research over 100 years now, but somehow that stopped once you get into the Arabian Peninsula.
But archaeologists exploring this new frontier may soon be competing with hundreds of thousands of visitors. Plans are underway to make Alula a global tourist destination.
We used to have travelers, pilgrims, caravans, all people who used to pass by Al-Ula. So people are ready to welcome the world.
Ahmed Al-Imam is a local historian. For much of the last century, conservative Saudi Arabia permitted few tourists, aside from pilgrims to Mecca. But the kingdom is opening up and embracing sweeping modern reforms.
I can see that people start to be aware. We can see the changes happening very fast. Everyone now is curious what's going to happen.
Ahmed is on his way to Alula's Old Town, a traditional mud brick village with walls dating back to the 13th century. Just a few decades ago, his family lived here.
And this is my grandfather's house, father of my mother.
Even though these homes have no electricity or modern plumbing, Old Town retained a vibrant community up until the 1980s.
For sure, it was different. The life was very connected, and people were very connected with each other.
Today, work is underway to preserve Old Town and make it part of Alula's wealth of heritage.
Of course, we have to do it responsibly. We have something really as a treasure. We should take care of it first and then show it to the world.
Old Town dates back centuries. But how far back do Alula's other ancient treasures go?
So currently we're a few nautical miles to the east of Alula. As we head further east, we start finding it's much more archaeologically dense.
Following up on David Kennedy's aerial survey, a field team is deciding which structures to excavate first. The team is headed by husband and wife, archaeologist Melissa Kennedy and team director Hugh Thomas. They're eager to test a theory that the structures may be burial markers.
If you go on the ground, it's actually quite difficult to see what you're looking at. And so you have to think, who are these structures supposed to be viewed by? Is it for the deceased person who's looking down from the afterlife, or is it perhaps from the gods?
Today, Hugh and Mel are targeting a 140-meter-long structure. It's referred to as a pendant.
We're really interested in it because it's one of the largest pendants in the Alula County. What we're aiming to get is potentially some dating evidence.
So we obviously have 32 towers in the tail of this pendant. We have to choose, what, 2 or 3 from to excavate today?
If this is a tomb, it may still hold human remains, artifacts or other vital clues to reveal who built these monuments and why.
It looks like you have a defined edge there, some kind of internal chamber.
In a remote corner of Saudi Arabia, researchers are investigating a mysterious ancient structure. They think it may contain human remains and other clues to the identity of the builders.
A, B, C, D.
The team begins to carefully remove stone by hand. There's no evidence of tool use here. The naturally flat stones are perfect building blocks.
Oh, you're right.
There are thousands upon thousands of tons of stone that are going into these structures. It's not just built by a family. There are communities coming together.
And after a few hours, their efforts yield nothing.
My tower tomb looks like it's just full of rock. It doesn't look like there's any hollow space or an internal chamber. Them's the breaks.
The team soon reaches the impenetrable surface bedrock. The tower is empty. No artifacts, no remains, just rock.
So I'm thinking of basically shutting down mine.
Nothing's coming out on the sieves.
Yeah, it's the
no
same.
signs of human remains at all.
The empty towers are puzzling. Evidence may have been degraded by time and weather, or even removed by looters. It's also possible these aren't grave sites after all. The team must now re-evaluate their theories. But to Hugh, this is still progress.
It is frustrating to be an archaeologist sometimes because I always describe it like putting a puzzle together. You don't have the box lid, that's been thrown out long ago. And you might get a little snapshot of a corner over here and a side over there. And you've got to try and fill in the rest of that puzzle with your own theories.